Welcome to the Female Founder Friday podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay White. I am super excited to be celebrating Women's History Month on the podcast. The truth is, on this show, we celebrate the history that women make every single day. We are always talking about their journeys to being female founders, their greatest achievements, and of course, all the incredible lessons they've learned along the way. And these next 4 episodes during the month of March feature some truly amazing female entrepreneurs as we wrap up our season 3. And would you believe that over the last 3 years and 3 seasons that we've had over 150 episodes, and we are absolutely thrilled to be one of the top podcasts for women in business. Now, we've got something really exciting for season 4. We are going to be launching Female Founder Unplugged. We're going to do a little rebrand here on the podcast, so make sure that you are subscribed and share with all of your friends. Don't forget to take our leadership style quiz now, because we're going to be talking about that during the show today. You're going to hear about the guest leadership style, and you can compare your own. You can find that link in the show notes. And while you're there, check out the link to my Rockstar Recruitment Bootcamp that is coming up starting the 25th of March. This free 5-day bootcamp is all about helping female entrepreneurs and small business owners feel supremely confident in recruiting the top talent they need for their business. I am pulling out all the tips, all the tricks, all the best practices that I have learned over 20 years working in human resources to help you be awesome at your recruitment and find that rock star. You can find both of those links in the show notes. Now, let's get to today's exciting episode. Fantastic. Welcome back to the Female Founder Friday podcast. I have a great guest with me here today. I have Theresa Harp, and she's a certified speech language pathologist, but she is also a time management coach for busy speech language pathologists. And if anyone is going to understand what it means to have an SLP practice and need to manage time in that space, it is Theresa. But I think truthfully, even though I'm not an SLP, I need some time management too. So, she is a busy mom. She has a busy practice, and it's really her own life experience of juggling work and kids. She's a twin mom, to, really managing time effectively so you can grow a really great business and a really great practice at the same time that you're momming, that you have a partner, that you might want to sleep occasionally, all of those things, right, Theresa? So that, you can do all the things that bring you fulfillment, wear all the hats and do that in a way that you can do it. And I see on your bio, build the life they love. And I think that's what we all really want. So Theresa, thanks for coming to spend some time with us on the podcast today. Really awesome to have you here.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
It's absolutely my pleasure. And I want to dive in to your journey, because I think so much of that has clearly informed, sort of the work you do and the passion you bring to it. So tell us about how you got to be a female founder.
Sure. So I always knew I wanted to be a speech pathologist. I knew very young, went to school for that, and eventually opened up my private practice, which was a really fun, creative outlet for me and a really good fit to be my own boss. But that was before I had my family. That was before I had my kids. And so after the business had been established for a little while, I had my first 2 were twins, like you said. And then I had a couple of years later, I had another one. And then 2 years later, another one after that. And it was like with each kid, the business was growing. The family was growing, the to-do list was growing, and the sleep was not growing. So there was a lot going on. And, long story short, flash forward to COVID, when I think, like so many other people, I was just reevaluating things and feeling, just a little bit unsettled, I guess, and started exploring, other passions, other interests, other skills of mine. And that's when I discovered coaching.
Mhm.
And I didn't really want to leave the field of speech entirely. But I knew that coaching it was really, it was something that I was curious about. And I really discovered that I was good at it and I liked it, and ultimately kind of combined the two. So I established my coaching practice in 2021 and worked in my private practice as an SLP for a little while. And then eventually I stopped treating as an SLP and shifted fully to coaching other SLPs who want better work-life balance, whatever that means for them.
Right. I love that. And I mean, you would bring a really particular knowledge and understanding of what it means, to be an SLP, to operate in that space, what all the different perspectives, the different pressures, the different trickies. So I can really appreciate that you would bring a whole different level of understanding to that space.
Yeah, I mean, not to generalize, but most SLPs tend to be the type A, high achieving, perfectionist people pleaser personality. And I see
I
you're
have my
raising your
hand up.
hand, right?
That's me too. Yeah.
Yes. And so I knew I was very driven and and ambitious, and I knew I wanted to work, and I also knew I wanted to be a mom, and I really wanted to feel successful in both at the same time. And that was hard for me because in the beginning, it felt sort of like I was either crushing it at work, but things at home were kind of taking the back seat, or vice versa. I was really focused at home and being present as a mom, but then my private practice and my clients were taking a back seat. And I really wanted to figure out a way that I could succeed at both, or at least feel successful and proud of the way that I was showing up in both of those roles at the same time without losing myself in the process and burning out in the process. And I was noticing so many other SLPs, whether they own a private practice or they worked in different settings, regardless, most of them were also struggling with things that I was struggling with, like burnout, overwhelm, stress, just not really loving the field any longer because they wanted to be so good at it, but it was costing themselves their
Mhm.
sanity and their happiness in the process.
Mhm. Yeah. And I don't think, um, I mean, the clients I work with I don't think are dissimilar. I think female entrepreneurs, no matter what kind of, whether we're selling a product or a service, I think so many of us fall into those categories, right? We are, we're deeply committed to what we do. We're very passionate about it. Again, whether it's a product that we love and we've developed, or a service that we love, something we've maybe dedicated our life to, because speech paths go to school for a long time to do it. I'm an HR professional by trade. I went to school for a long time, got a lot of experience. We're really passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
And um, we really want to add value. We really
Mm-hmm.
want to help people. We really want to ultimately make the world a better place, right? And so
Exactly.
we do, it's really easy to get caught up and have that pleaser saboteur be really present, that we serve others to the point where we're no longer serving ourselves. That high achiever piece that you mentioned, where it's never good enough. We're never working hard enough. We're never successful enough. Get back to work. You haven't achieved it, right? Like, man, I think
Yes.
that that's so common.
It really is. I mean, the pressures that society puts on women, but also the pressure that we put on ourselves,
100%.
it's high, and it takes a toll. And I really wanted to figure out a way that I could, be able to create a business that I love and grow my family. I didn't want to miss out on those moments, on the time when my kids are little. And, I wanted to figure out how to juggle all of that. And I think that's what so many of
Yeah.
other female business owners can relate to.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And I think, in fact, for many of the women, I mean, we're at in excess of 130 episodes on this show alone. Not to mention the women that, are in my network, are in my friend groups, are in my, right? I mean, for so many of us, that is actually the inflection point. Just like you, I had kids. I needed my life to look different because I needed to serve them first. That's,
Mhm.
that's the inflection point that causes so many women to choose to step into their own business, their own practice. And I think that, that is different for many of us, right?
Yeah, and as I was listening to you say that, what popped up for me was so many of us, I think, go into business, like you said, because we want that flexibility and the autonomy and all of that, right? But it comes at a cost.
Sure does.
And I know for me, don't get me wrong, love having that independence and that freedom. But it's also like, how do you turn it off, right?
Yeah.
So there's no 9 to 5 hours. I mean, it's like you're thinking about your business, your clients all the time, and your work hours are gonna vary, right? It might be at like 5 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And when it's all on you, or when you feel like it's all on you to perform, to provide, to build and create, it can be a slippery slope.
It can be. It can be because that's when the pleaser gets really, really loud, really hyperactive,
Mm,
really, right? Because we got to take care of everybody all the time. And what we inevitably forget to do is take care of ourselves.
yes.
Yeah. So, Teresa, I'm curious, what do you do to make sure that you have space for yourself in your busy life and busy practice?
Well, I got very clear on what are my personal values and my personal needs.
Yeah.
And it's something that I come back to often because they actually change and evolve a bit. They shift depending upon time and season and all of that. But I had to get really, really clear on, okay, what is it that I need and not make that a problem, not make myself feel guilty. So, for example, I need quiet. I need alone time
Yeah.
to just decompress and to think clearly without being
Yeah.
interrupted. And so that's a priority. I make that a priority. If that's not happening, I'm not showing up in a way that I feel good. I'm not showing up in a way that I feel proud of.
Love that. I love that. And I want to echo that this year, um, I want to prioritize daily movement. So I already have pre-booked in my calendar. I work out with a trainer. I have for many years. The truth is I'm not really great at self-motivation. So if it's not someone I have, if it's not a commitment, I'm not going to do it. And all of us, we live pretty sedentary lifestyles. We're in our front of our computers all day. I mean, you can have the
Mhm.
standing desk and all that, but I've actually set my calendar up so in the morning, even if it's just a half an hour, I have a space for movement, whether that's walking the dog, going on the treadmill, doing some yoga, whatever my body needs me to do.
Mhm.
I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to give myself an hour in the morning to actually get ready. Have a shower or make the bed, do a load of laundry. Maybe it's just I need to read. Like I've given myself that space in my couch because I think you're right. I think you have to give yourself that and not feel guilty about it.
Right. Not feel guilty about it because we all have different thresholds, right?
100%.
We all
100%.
have different needs. And so
Yeah.
not making that a problem, not making that mean anything about yourself.
Yes. Yes. I really love that. Thank you for letting me ask that question because I think it's important. That discussion is actually really important that you get to book time. It's the whole point of owning your own practice. You get to
Yes.
book the time that you need to do the things that are important to keep you whole and happy and fulfilled.
Yes, exactly.
Um, Now Teresa's taken my leadership style quiz, you could probably guess what style she is. If you want to know what style you are, there's a link in the show notes. You can also go to the website, highvoltageleadership.ca. You can press the button that says take the quiz, and you can find out what your leadership style is. I'm going to send you a bit of a report. It's going to, it's fun. It's quick. It's going to give you a little insight. I'm going to send you some leadership tips so you can be more effective. And then you can compare notes with Theresa. So, Theresa, tell us, again, I think I probably know what you're going to say, but what kind of coach are you, or what kind of leader are you?
Well, I would say I would probably fall under that category of coach, right? And it's actually funny, Lindsay, the concept of leadership is something that I've been thinking about more deeply, more frequently recently. I never really saw myself as a leader.
Yeah.
and and I know that this is something that you talk about a lot, right? This is the thing. So I think we all are leaders in different ways, and taking what I did and learned as a speech pathologist and building that into my business as a coach and the way that I show up was really helpful for me. At first, I thought they were like two different identities, two different things,
Oh,
speech,
yeah.
coaching. And
Yeah.
as I realized, okay, well, maybe I've been a coach all along. I didn't see myself that way. I didn't see myself as a leader. I didn't see myself as a coach, as that sort of
Yeah.
leadership style. Um, but I think I was, and I just didn't realize that. But what I love now as a coach who leads other women is partnership. That's sort of the key value for me as a coach, is partnering with my clients, partnering with my community, my colleagues, to support them. It's not about me telling them what to do. It's about me helping them figure out what they want to do and what's best for them, helping them to understand themselves better at a
Yeah.
deeper level with more self-awareness has been just a total game changer for me. And I see the ripple effects of that in my clients' lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, isn't that the beautiful part, is the co-creation, right? You and I as coaches, we don't have all the answers.
Right.
Well, you're working with speech paths, and so you do have expertise to offer in that space. But I'm not the expert at my client's business.
Mm-hmm.
They are the expert at the business.
Mm-hmm.
Our job as coaches is to really help them uncover and realize and really excel at that expertise. It's to explore, it's to find new opportunities and innovative solutions and perspectives they've never considered. And so I think that's the fun part about coaching, is we're not actually responsible for the outcome.
Yes.
Responsible for the journey. And so I appreciate what you're saying. But I also think it's interesting, and this is actually part of my mission this year, is that I encounter so many female entrepreneurs, so many small business owners that don't think of themselves as a leader. They do not identify with that label.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I believe that is a problem. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
a malfunction, because if there's more than, like, you're a leader, you lead from within. You lead yourself every day. So if you're not thinking of yourself, even if you're a solopreneur, that you don't think and see yourself as leading your business, I think that's problem number one.
Mm.
And as soon as you start to work with a number of clients, of course you're leading your clients. As soon as you start to build any kind of a team, even if you hire a bookkeeper or a VA, you are leading them. Geez, Louise's moms were leaders. We lead
Mm.
our kids, we lead in our family, we lead in our community. If we actually aren't identifying as a leader and are not culturing our own leadership style, we don't understand our leadership capability, I actually think we're leaving the best part of ourselves on the table.
Yeah.
You're nodding, so that's
Yeah.
resonating with you. Okay.
Yes,
Give
it
me a hug.
absolutely is. Yes, absolutely. And I think, there's a little bit of pressure there, right? Like at first, when people think of leadership, at least this is my own
Oh,
experience.
yeah.
I thought, oh my gosh, like that's really scary. That's a scary thought, being a leader. I don't think I'm not the leader. I'm looking at everyone else, but we're all leaders in our own ways. And looking for the evidence of that was one thing that helped me to cultivate that view of myself. So looking for ways, moments, instances where I showed up as a leader is what sort of helped me flex that muscle and step into that identity more comfortably.
I love that. Yeah, that's really beautifully said. And I think someone is listening to this episode who at the start of this conversation didn't consider themselves as a leader, but now is thinking, oh, maybe I'm like Theresa. Maybe I need to examine that a little more. So I really
Mm.
love that. Thank you for offering that.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to ask you, where have you made mistakes, missteps? Where have you screwed it up, messed it up? And what have you learned from those things, Theresa?
How long is this podcast, Lindsay? How much time do you have?
I know, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, I've made so many mistakes. I still do. I think, oh gosh. Okay, few that are coming to the top of my head in no particular order.
Yeah.
Uh, One is playing small and holding myself back, like just not putting myself out there, not showing up, not speaking up, not providing value in moments where I felt uncomfortable or scared, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I also think one mistake that I have made and that I've gotten better about, but it's of course, an ever, an ongoing
Yeah.
process is with clients and choosing clients to work with that are the quote unquote right fit, the good fit.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. In the beginning, it was like, oh, I'm just gonna take on any client that I can. Like I can help them and I'm gonna take them on. And yes, I can do this, and making sort of promises and sort of like going back to what you said earlier about not being responsible for their results, right? Their outcome is on them. We support them, but it's not our responsibility. For
Yeah.
so long I thought it was, and that killed me. I mean, it just it broke me. If a client wasn't getting a result, I was looking at me and what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
And certainly there were things that I could change. And one of those things was really getting clear on which clients are the right fit and being very
Yeah.
clear on how I operate, what my style is, and being comfortable with saying no, being okay with getting it wrong. I had to figure out, that's how I figured out who my
Yeah.
best clients were and who I would be the best coach for,
Yeah.
was by getting it wrong so many times.
No, you know what? I agree with you. I did some of that work a couple years ago with my own coach because it's so much about who do I do my best work. Like I can help a lot of people, as you've said. And you're right. I think we want to help. Like we genuinely want to be of service. And again, we believe very passionately about what we do and how it can be of service. But I think you're right. We've got to get really clear on who do I do my best work? Who gets the best results? Because that's the person I want to work with. I get fulfillment out of that as much as they get. Like when you can match those two things up, that's
Mm-hmm.
where the real magic happens because you, as a coach and a service provider, feel fantastic. They experience incredible transformation. Everybody is happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
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 Yeah. And I think, another one sort of piggybacking off of that is saying yes to things that really were not in alignment
Yeah, they
with,
have no business saying it.
right? Right. I've
Uh-huh.
no, it's just those yeses that don't feel good. And I'm not talking about the yeses that you say yes to, but you want to do it, but it's outside your comfort zone, but it's going to grow you,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, this is
Two
like a
different things.
stretch for me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's a difference between that and the yes that in your gut is not the right good fit
Yeah.
for you. It's not something that you value and that you want to do because for whatever reason you felt like you couldn't say no.
Yeah.
So that's been something that I continue to learn.
Yeah.
And the last one that I will offer is, and this is interesting coming from the time management coach, is thinking that I have to do everything quickly, that everything has to be done and achieved fast. I'm always like, go, go, go. I want to hit this goal. I'm very driven and goal oriented. And I have continued to find myself faced with opportunities to learn the lesson of slowing down to speed up, right? Sometimes you have to slow down in order to speed up. And I've noticed, and I say this to my kids all the time, oh, mom was going too fast. Mom was rushing. If I just slowed down, things would go a little bit easier and I could accomplish the goal that I'm working towards. It doesn't have to happen, at the speed that you think it should.
I would argue that it almost never does.
Yes.
No,
and the more you rush it, right? The more you push and rush and try to control, the longer it takes and the more you slow yourself down, actually.
So you know what? It's so funny, Theresa, because it's something that I work on too. I know that comes from my high achieving saboteur, that conversation that always wants me to do more and do better and have greater success. And yes, I think that is a conversation that propels us, but it is also a conversation that causes us to overdo it, right? We talk about being driven, but you're right. There's a fine line there between being driven and absolutely being ridiculous.
Right.
And no, it's not likely to happen. There's nothing wrong with setting goals and trying to achieve things, but also knowing that if it doesn't happen in that exact time frame, I mean, we aren't actually saving babies. Like nobody is dying as a result of us achieving a goal 2 or 3 or 6 days or weeks later, right? Like nothing is, but I think it's that inside voice that really drives us and, kind of whips us a bit along the way that, and then we get in a big hurry. And you're right. We drop balls. We get frustrated and overwhelmed. We don't actually deliver at the level that we'd like to. Mistakes are made. And ultimately we maybe, take 2 steps back for 1 step forward, which is not what we want at all.
Yes.
So I really appreciate you calling that out just on a very personal level. But I think a lot of women that are female founders and small business owners would probably listen to this and be nodding emphatically.
Yes. It's a hard habit to break, but it's so valuable to do it. I mean, it's just, it can be life-changing. It really can. And so really looking for those moments, how can I slow down in order to speed up? How can I slow down in order to do better and serve better?
Yeah. And I think not even slow down, but just work at a pace. Right? Like you don't need to slow to a crawl. Right. But you absolutely do just need to dial it back a little bit. The frenetic pace that we can get ourselves into just doesn't serve, right? Yeah, no, I really, really love that. Thank you so much for offering that lovely piece of wisdom here right at the end. But for the rest of the conversation as well, super grateful. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts and telling us about your journey. I just really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me on. I love talking about this stuff and I love the podcast. So thank you so much, Lindsay.
Oh, absolutely my pleasure. Wow, I am so lucky. I get to have the best conversations with the most incredible female entrepreneurs. And I hope you enjoyed the show too. If you did, can you go and give me a 5-star review wherever you listen to this podcast and share it with a couple of your business besties? I'd really appreciate your support. And I'd also love to see you at the free Rockstar Recruitment Bootcamp that's going live on March the 25th. We're going to spend an hour a day together every day that week to really talk about my best tips and tricks tricks to help you as a female founder find the top talent that you need for your business. And of course, you're absolutely welcome to bring one of your business besties with you. Thanks again for being here today, and I hope you can join us for the next episode.